Yes, sir. Cousin Ian.
Good to see you.
Always a pleasure, man. Listen, here we are, man. My wife and I are blessed enough with baby girl to be here in London. We're out here in grandma's backyard, and we're blessed enough to see our little daughter get to see the house that mom was raised in,
Yeah,
auntie,
yeah,
Auntie Maisie, and the family, and it's just a blessing. You and I just had an amazing conversation, man. And I always love your perspective. With Mindsmith thinking,
yes,
with your perspective, you help people see a viewpoint that otherwise they haven't saw.
yes.
And it's helped me, it's helped my mom, helped my family, it's helped our village.
Mm,
So check this out, cuz
mm,
my great grandfather would always say, keep looking up.
mm,
That was his words of wisdom to us.
mm,
You know, over in the States, we have different government, right?
yes,
Than you all have here. But I think bigger than government, I think we limit ourselves to the mind.
yes,
With your company, Mindsmith Thinking, you're a counselor. You help people see different viewpoints.
yes, yes,
So, with my grandfather keeping things positive, man, we're here to help people see a better view of things.
yes.
What could you say to help somebody's day, man? What positivity to somebody who feels hopeless,
Yeah,
with government or same deal here? What could you offer somebody just to kind of get them out there perspective that's limiting?
yes, yeah. Well, welcome to London, first of all. Good to have you here. Good to
Yes,
have you
sir,
here.
my
Good to
brother.
have you both
Thank
here.
you.
So, on the theme of looking up, I think what I've learned after a first career and then going into a second career I didn't expect to go into,
Mm,
which of course has been about the mind and teaching, helping people understand it, is that in order to look up, you have to first understand your limitations. And everybody keeps telling us that our limitations are things that are imposed on us. And there
mm,
are things imposed on us. They're called the situations, because situations are always imposed on you.
mm,
But the reality is, it's how you see situations that determines how you deal with them in the best way. Does that make
mm.
sense? But that really depends on your knowledge of the mind. Because normally, when you see a situation, you have a habitual way of thinking. Your habitual way of thinking is coming a long time before the situation ever occurs.
Yes.
And either that will work for you or it will not. But
Wow.
you don't know how you're going to turn up to the party. You
Yes.
see? And then on the basis of how you turn up to the party, whether that situation works for you or it doesn't, what then happens is then you evaluate, as we were talking earlier, you
Yeah.
evaluate yourself. And you
Yes.
can evaluate yourself as less, or you can evaluate yourself as more, or somewhere in between, right?
Yes.
So these determinants, optional, decided sometime in the past, are often in uh, um,
Mm.
deciding, impacting on your success at dealing with things or dealing with how you've come to think you are.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And nobody ever really says to you enough about how this evaluation process takes place, how this I that you identify with, right,
Yes.
how that works, and how it works for you with this, and how it doesn't work for you with that. But then for your friend, it might be the opposite way around. You see?
Right.
So if you don't know anything about how this works, then you're a pawn.
Yes.
You're a victim to
Yes.
the situation. That's the first thing. The second thing is that a lot of the time they're always telling you that things make you feel. Well, if
Mm.
things make you feel, then why don't we all feel the same way?
Mercy.
Why is it we all think in different ways, you
Yes.
see, about things? So it all comes down again to this thing that's happening behind you, this legacy that is determining how you respond and think to things now,
Wow.
right? Now, that's nothing to do with your IQ, your intelligence. We're all in that same game until we learn more about how this impact works, the impact you see or that is being made for you in a situation. It all depends on how you see, but we're kind of starved of the knowledge of how we see.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Why that is, who knows?
Yes.
That's another question.
Yes.
So in what I learned, and this was a bit of a shock to me, like it might be anybody who's listening, this thing is American, by the way. I just thought I might add that, right? So in this thing I learned, it taught you that first of all, the ancient Greeks, they call it Stoic philosophy, knew this knowledge. Now we always think we're so clever, and they weren't. But clearly they knew a lot of stuff that we've either forgotten or been forced to forget, right? And they said that it's not situations that create the emotion, it is your beliefs about situations that create the emotion, right? Remember, your belief is coming from a long time before you ever get to the situation. It's created. Remember, belief is just information you receive, that you've had, that is repeated, that you've internalized, and that says that you're either this or you're that. That makes sense? What you come to believe. So that's the first thing. So when people are telling you that it causes your feeling, it's not really a truth. In fact, it's something that keeps you locked in an idea of yourself, in an idea of your limitation, because you think that it's situations that create your problem. Right?
So if somebody says, Cousin Eden, if somebody says, this is not belief, this is what I see in front of me. I'm watching this on TV.
Yes.
This is not my belief. This is truth. What do you say to somebody who's identifying their truth from what they see?
So there is your truth and there is the truth. You see, there's two different ways of seeing things. Now, a lot of the time, because we've come to think that opinion and belief are the same as knowing, right? Because, you know, we all argue about our opinions, right?
Yes.
And because we're so convinced about this opinion stuff, even educationally we do, when you give an argument, you're saying, you call it your truth.
Yes.
Right? If you
living your truth,
if you go to court, right, in England, right, they'll introduce the trial by saying, and the facts of the case are this.
Yes.
Right? The prosecution do. Well, if the facts were this, then why are you having a trial? You see, so we're always confused by the language that we use to think and confuse truth as knowing.
Yes.
Truth and believing as knowing. You see what I'm saying? So you kind of have to differentiate between the two in order to get a sense of reality.
Wow.
So I mean, we were laughing earlier. We used the word delusion. So you can be walking around in a delusion of your legacy thinking that says, for instance, I get this all the time, and I had this problem myself, that if I'm going to talk to this group of people, that they're thinking all these things of me.
Wow.
Right? And I walk in there and I get the feeling, because I'm thinking they're thinking these things, that I'm not good enough. And then I start to stumble on my words, etc., and I don't give the talk that I would give. Now, when people say the talk gave me the feeling, you'll never get over the problem. You see, when you realize that it's your beliefs that create your feeling in that situation, and you can change your belief so that you can then deliver the talk, then you're empowered.
So, cuz, that's so powerful, because we talk ourselves out of something before it even begins.
Yeah.
So the person who wants to change their belief, how do they even start? How does someone even start that?
So you need a little bit of new knowledge, right? And guess what? It's not complex, right? And so if I give you an example, which I said to you earlier, say we're walking down the road and we see a little dog, right? And you know, because you're not afraid of dogs, this dog will not hurt you, right? And as we're walking along having a nice conversation, I see the dog and I've jumped on the wall, right, away from the dog. And I'm saying, Tony, get the dog away from me, get the dog away from me, right? Now, you're looking up at me and thinking, why does he think this dog's going to hurt him? Because I know it won't. But I'm convinced that the dog will hurt me.
Yes.
My truth,
Your truth.
right?
Who am I to
The
say?
truth
Yes.
is very different, but you can't tell me about the dog because I'll get angry with
Yeah,
you because I'm
exactly.
so convinced by my truth. The reality is we're doing this stuff all the time. Now, because I'm in my truth, I'm reacting to my truth by jumping on the wall
Yes.
because I see the theme of threat or fear of danger. The theme of threat or fear of danger is anxiety, right? You
Ooh.
just don't realize that anxiety can be anything that you desire that you're in fear of not getting. Anything.
Mercy. Mercy.
Anything. It can be your wife's opinion of your clothing.
Yeah.
It can be anything, you see?
This doesn't match that. Yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah,
see,
yeah.
anything you can be in fear of. So you have to realize that the body doesn't know what you see, it only knows what you tell it.
Have mercy.
So if you keep telling your body that you're in fear of this or you want it this way, but what if it doesn't go this? What if the uncertainty? Then you'll continue to have anxiety. So that's how you get overwhelmed with anxiety because you've
Wow.
got so much of this going on in different modes.
Yes.
Because we think in real, imagined, past, present, future, here and here. We're thinking in all these different modes. So there's all these different opportunities for you to have fear or
Yes.
uncertainty. So fear and anxiety is the thing that bothers us most, but we don't realize that we're creating it because of the way we see. Right? So
Thank you.
going back to the dog. So my belief about the dog, we call it, was inflexible. That makes sense? It might be like the dog should not be running towards me. It's not always the dog. Usually it's a particular aspect of something that about the dog, like the dog should be on the lead, the dog should not be able to jump.
Yes.
That makes sense?
Yes.
Of course, if it was a lion, it would be a real threat.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? But this is what we call a perceived threat. So you get the idea.
Perceived.
It's
Yes.
perceived, right? It's how you perceive. But you have to realize you are creating what you perceive. That's the most powerful thing I can tell you. You are creating what you perceive.
The dog's just happy to be free roaming.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Now you in the same situation may have a different belief, right? So what if I could mimic your belief so I no longer had the problem? Which is how I help people have solutions, right? That's the first thing. But you may have a different belief anyway, and your belief might be that dogs should not be allowed to be off their lead.
Yes.
So your belief, your emotion then, because the dog was off its lead,
Yes.
would be anger, because a personal rule had been broken.
Personal.
In anger, there's always a personal
Dog
rule.
not supposed to be on. Yeah, that's right.
Always a personal rule. So when you hear this stuff, you know, you don't need to go and read a book. You'll know whether that's true or not by reflecting on when you get angry. When you're angry, there's always a rule. And what that anger does, it generates a type of thinking. The type of thinking generated in the emotion anger is the same for every human being.
Wow.
That's the point. So you can get to know more about what you're thinking.
And this is free, Ian. This information is free.
Well, I like to share it, man. I like to share it, right?
Yes.
So you can. So when you realize that you're thinking your emotion generates a particular type of thinking. The thinking consistent with anger is not the same as the thinking consistent with anxiety.
Wow.
Right? And so what happens is you begin to read your mind, and you can read other people's minds. Because that's what human beings do. They think in that way. It's like a program that's generated. So that thinking in anger or anxiety may have 5 elements, and you will have most of those elements if you're in that emotion. Theme and thinking equals emotion.
Yes, because it's always a theme.
Theme and thinking.
Yes.
And you may see a different theme from me. So if you're having a dispute with your wife or somebody else, right, in the same situation, you may see 2 different themes.
Yes. So we got the theme, we have the thinking, but what's universal? Because those are different.
Yes.
But what's universal is the suffering and the pain.
The suffering and the pain comes because of you deciding what you desire in that situation, and your desire not being met. So that's the most powerful thing.
And you're meaning to tell me that we have the decision
Yes.
to change our suffering
Yes.
based off of our
Based on that
decisions.
information. That's right, yeah. So if you turn, so we look at it more simply in three ways. When you turn up to a situation or you're exposed to a situation, you can be indifferent, which means you're not fussed. Not always
Mm,
easy to achieve, but sometimes you can achieve it even when you've been really upset about something.
okay.
You can be in preference, where you have a desire or expectations, but you accept they may not be met,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
Or you can be in the absolute should, where you're insisting on what should happen in a certain situation.
I have to have it this.
Yeah, those three things,
Okay.
right? But what you don't know again is this legacy thinking is deciding what happens right now in that situation.
Yes.
The legacy thinking is deciding what happens now, right? Once you know that you've got options, then you can learn to manage your legacy thinking so you arrive at the situation in the best option,
Okay.
right? So when I was worrying about what people would think, I'd come into a conversation like this and I wouldn't be my authentic self,
Yeah.
because I'd be thinking, what does he think about me? What will anybody who's watching be thinking? And all of this sort of stuff.
Yes.
Well, now I don't do that anymore because I've learned to manage my thinking.
Wow.
That's anybody who wants to do the practice, it's within their gift to learn it.
Have
Right?
mercy.
So the difficulty for me was always that there's this thing called psychological health, and in reality, it's all a bit of a mystery. We
Yeah.
don't really know. He went to therapy, they went to the blah blah blah, and there's people who go to therapy for a very long time. You with me?
Yes.
My question would always be, when I meet somebody, whether they've been to therapy or not, is what do you know about thinking? What have you
Mm.
learnt so far? Because then I can establish what they need to know in order to master their thinking.
So it doesn't. Yes, because okay. I love this conversation because I think it's come from viewpoints of people, you and I, who both challenge thoughts that have led to suffering.
Yes,
And I've taken therapy myself,
yes,
and I was in therapy for a year. I think sometimes we don't, our culture in particular, doesn't seek therapy when we should. Just like your car needs oil, gas,
yeah,
all those things to maintain. I think we have to do the same thing for our mind.
yes,
But if we don't challenge these thoughts, how will we know,
yes,
right? I think that's where the freedom comes from,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's your strengths and your limitations
Yes.
that you've wound into this thing called I. That makes sense? So quite often you're so used to saying I do this, whether it's goal related or not, that you don't think there's an option.
Wow.
And so you
Wow.
go through life thinking you are your I. When your I isn't this, your I is like this. It's
Yeah.
expanding all the time as you grow. But you can be in and that's what I'm saying. This limitation limits you,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And unfortunately, we have to be truthful. The education system doesn't, because you could be learning this when you're 10 or
Woo.
from a very earlier stage. The education doesn't help you.
Mm.
There's so much out there that is a mystery about psychological health that's not really very helpful either, because you need to know what you need. Because you can go down one road and you get limited help and you think that's all there is, when actually there's more that can help you.
Yes.
So you have to realize that when you learn the principles, you know what can be achieved.
Wow.
You know that you are the creator of your suffering.
Mm.
You are the creator.
Wow.
Because you have the option. I'm not saying that you think everything's great, right?
That's what I was going to ask you next. Because to somebody listening, they would say, "Oh, that's nice." Then the backyard outside, it's a beautiful view, but I'm suffering, man.
Yeah.
I can't relate to what they're saying. Whatever's on me is so hard. That sounds nice, but my feeling is that I don't have options.
Yes.
I don't have the options.
Yeah.
All I have is what's on me. This
Yeah.
is this weight to bear.
Yeah.
It's tough because
Yeah.
I know that feeling because I've dealt with suffering, and in the moments it doesn't feel like you have options, even when you do.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me that, how does how do
does
you
it work?
choose that option through that suffering of pain? Because can it be so heavy?
Yeah. So you have to realize that what you're carrying is about how you see it. right? So, for instance,
Okay.
this might not be a great, but say for instance we're with the family and we're going on a long walk and we're out in the woods, right? And we've been walking for hours. It starts raining and this, that, the other, right? And then you suddenly ask me, Ian, we've been out here for 4 hours. I think we're lost. And I say, and you're wrapped off. That makes sense.
Yes.
And then I say to you, yeah, but Tony, in 5 minutes' time, you're going to have at the cabin the best meal you've ever had, right? So all of that discontent suddenly goes because you now have the vision of the best meal you've ever had.
Have mercy.
In the space of a moment. You see how it changes, right? So, maybe that for somebody who's listening who's got a lot of issues, you have to realize that, yes, there are difficulties in life, but it's how you see the difficulties, right? And also how you add to that your evaluation of yourself as you are negotiating those difficulties. That's what becomes your luggage. So if you hear the thunder again.
Yes. That's an amen to that. Yeah.
So if you're giving, yes sir,
Yes,
sir.
yes,
If you're
yes.
giving, so if you're giving a personal view, or taking a personal view from your circumstances,
Yes.
then they're likely, and it's negative, which it usually is, then it's likely to keep you in those circumstances.
Wow.
And tell you that you're not good enough, you're worthless, you're worth less, all of this stuff. When
Wow.
actually, other than your mind telling you that, your worth never changes. You see, they've introduced us to this concept called self-esteem, right? What's the other? Self-worth and self-esteem.
Yeah.
Well, they only really exist if you believe in them. You see what I'm saying? It's so important
Yeah.
people realize that. They exist because you think, oh, because he's got this exam and he's doing that. Well, that's what he does.
Wow.
If you go to a man in the middle of the Amazon jungle, he's not going to think his exam it makes him better than you. Right? Everybody's born
So
unique.
relative.
Everybody's
Yes.
born unique. Everything is subjective. You see. So it's really important that people realize how these things are created because of a lack of knowledge of how we make inferences into assumptions, into facts, into a delusion where you're in a world of your paradigm, where you've got the goggles on and all you can see is your despair.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes. That's all you can see.
Yeah.
When you're in
don't
there.
confuse it. I'm not saying that people don't make things difficult for us.
Right.
But when you're in with the goggles on, your options are limited.
Yes, it is.
Because you're not even confident to go and ask for help sometimes. You see what I'm saying?
Is this person gonna adhere to the things, and then you have to put yourself to be vulnerable?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then what happens is, because we're in the discontent and we're suffering, then we soothe.
Yes.
So then we talked about the soothing. The soothing becomes people's substances, people's weight.
Whoa.
All of these things then start to become a separate problem. You know
All
what I'm
because
saying?
I'm not facing this thing.
Because you're not facing it. Because you're not facing it, then you'll compensate.
I'm not facing me.
Exactly. Exactly. But the problem is you don't realize it's to do with understanding you. That makes sense. So my thing is, what is the quickest way I can get you to understand yourself, right? And what makes you tick? Because they don't do that anyway. And they've got all this stuff on personality traits and stuff like that, but they never really get you to understand how that is impacting on you and how you are then impacting on the environment because of your personality traits.
Mercy. That's powerful. Listen, I was in therapy for a year. And I think everybody may have different timelines based off their situation. But that's so powerful for you to say your challenge, your purpose, what's exciting to you, what you want to do is get people out the gate quicker.
Yeah.
You want to identify what the issue is quicker.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times we talk about society is, hey, I've been in therapy for 10 years, 20 years. It doesn't have to be that.
For me, everything's about self-knowledge and self-realization. I'm not the first one to say it, but it's true. But you kind of have to know it's always knowledge of how you are responding and how you can respond differently.
Okay.
Not how you have one response. You're not a robot.
Yes.
You always have an alternative response. You always have alternative thinking. And this is something you already know and do, but you do it inconsistently.
Without even knowing.
Without even knowing, you do it inconsistently because you don't know that these tools are available to you. But they are.
They are
Available to all of
available.
us.
Yes.
But by virtue of you being human, they're available to all of us. But as again, we've been how can I say, forced into thinking almost, right, by everything that's reinforcing the fact that situations happen to you,
Yes.
that it makes you feel. When you listen to podcasts, you'll hear people, it makes me feel.
Yes.
And then you think, well, that's true then. Everybody's saying it's true. But it doesn't work like that. That's the most disempowering statement you can make because you can feel differently or feel less or not feel at all
Yes.
in the same situation. Once you realize that it's your perception that you're creating that is creating the problem. So let me just qualify that. So
yes.
I'm differentiating between what is a real threat. Of course, if a lion walked in now, we should be scared.
Oh, yeah.
You know? But we're not talking about that. We're talking about when you're perceiving threats.
Yes.
As if they're real.
Yes.
Somebody's opinion of you does not have to be a problem unless you decide.
Yeah, for
you see
real.
What I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think we all struggle with that.
Or somebody's evaluation of you, whether it happens or not, because a lot of time we think people are evaluating us, they're not.
Right.
You know, or the, you know, all the things we're seeking, whether we're seeking value or seeking approval, we don't have to make a big deal about that if we don't get it.
Yes.
But we do. We then add to that the personal evaluation that then leads us to believe it even more. And that becomes our limitation. So we've been playing a lot, the mind has been playing a lot of games with us all. Unfortunately, as a result of it, some people have lost their lives, we know that.
Yes,
but
yes.
It's not necessary for that if they get the knowledge earlier on.
Woo!
It's not necessary.
So Ian, I'm grateful to talk to you because last time we were here in London was before COVID, right? I was dealing with anxiety before COVID. Didn't know really where it came from or anything. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And you know, here comes COVID. That's when I really experienced my personal anxiety, and I didn't realize I had options. So to sit here, maybe 4 or 5 years later with you, have this discussion, having applied the tools and options I have, I can say wholeheartedly that I feel 1,000 times better.
Yeah.
Not that those situations don't still come.
Yes.
I just choose different options because of the self-belief.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
What I've taught myself,
Yes.
I've changed from therapy, from facing it, from challenging those thoughts.
Yeah. From observing others.
From observing and letting it pass. So I'm here really, this is a testimony to me talking to you because I'm on a different side now talking with you. So I'm thankful for your wisdom, your knowledge. Thank you for giving us these gems that we can apply because someone may not know they have these options available.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's true. A lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know. And even when I do clinical stuff and I get the report, I know that the clinicians that are sending me the report, they don't understand what I've just said. But I know even when people come in, I know there's another thing that I do, but that relates to your personality trait. But I can almost predict the type of problem you'll have based on your personality trait.
Yes.
And so can you.
Oh, wow.
So can you. When you understand the pattern, the patterns reveal how people think. How you know, people, that's impossible. Well, no, it's not. You know, you'll see that some people who, you know, they're driving a car and they're prone to road rage because they've got a thing about time and people delaying their time, and they're a certain type. They're kind of the dominant type, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Then you'll get people who are very detailed, perfectionists, and they like to know. They don't like not to know. They like to be in certainty, right? So they're always doing a lot of reading on the internet and stuff like that, right? So So uncertainty becomes their problem because they like to know. Part of their gift is knowing and sharing information. You
Wow.
see, but they don't know that it has, in duality, it has a negative side. You know,
Yes.
just like if you have a Ferrari, you can't drive it everywhere at 180 mile an hour, but it
No.
probably doesn't run quite as well at 20 miles an hour.
No,
You
you
see,
got to run that
so
thing.
so everything has a benefit and disbenefit. And then the other type is the amiable. We call them, and they're the ones that like supporting others. They're everybody. If you meet an amiable, people are, oh, such a lovely guy.
That's
Because
right.
they always bend for everybody. But it doesn't mean it's always a good thing, because they
Okay.
don't often they don't think about themselves enough, and people
Wow.
then take advantage of them. You with me? But they make teams work really well. And then you've got the creatives. We call them the expressives. And the creatives are always bringing new ideas, and consistent with new ideas is efficiency. They're always
Wow.
trying to be more efficient,
Yes.
right? But in order for somebody to be interested in your new idea, you have to be concerned about value. See the connection? So do they value my idea? It makes it a legitimate idea. It makes it useful to the group. But the problem is they can also be overly concerned with value, always seeking recognition, having to be valued, right? And if they don't see that they're valued, then they move into that evaluation. So every one of those groups has this thing about the negative evaluation, but they just do it differently. The reds, the drivers, and the detail people, they're very task focused, and they're worried about what's the word? They're worried about. I'm getting distracted by the thunder.
Yeah.
They're worried about um,
The end
criticism,
result. Yeah.
criticism,
Okay.
right? Whereas the amiable and the expressive, they're people orientated, and they're more worried about approval or recognition. The greens approval, the amiables, the others recognition. So when people have problems, you can see usually that the color will flavor the problem. So for instance, all the people I've had with PTSD are great thinkers, but also great overthinkers. They haven't processed situations, and because they haven't processed, the reason why they haven't processed it is because in the moment when they had the situation that they're still stuck on, they had a belief that was inconsistent with reality.
Ooh.
You see? So when people go to war, for instance, they might think it's somebody got blown up, say, unfortunately. I should have done something differently. It shouldn't have happened to him. All of this type of thinking that
Yes.
is inconsistent reality, because what happened did happen, or I should have done something differently. That's another one they
Wow.
have, right? So they
Wow.
then come back and they get stuck. But the ones that don't get stuck
Stuck.
weren't thinking like that. They were thinking something else.
Yes. Same situation. Yep. Different
You see
thinking.
how it works? So in PTSD, it's a processing problem. So you're then reliving this incident because you haven't filed it, you haven't processed it. We have an ability to process difficult situations, but not if you're thinking about them in this type of excessive way. You see? So again, they'll when usually they'll come back and they'll say, oh well, it's because you went to war
Yes.
that you had the problem. So then
Yes. Yes.
the war,
Yes.
the situation's not going to change. So then you go and tell, well, I went to war. What do you expect? I got PTSD.
Yes.
Until
And
you
then
learn,
just live with it. Right.
until you learn internally how you can think differently about difficult situations, then you can learn to process. I'm not saying it's easy for everybody,
Right.
but the principle is there, because all situations are available to be processed, and it depends whether you can use your ability to process them. So that's how PTSD works.
Thank you. Listen, that's so powerful, and like you mentioned, it is. I think sometimes we think about what the relief will be, and we think of it as some grand scale, some secret that we don't have access to,
Yes,
and it's more a simplistic approach that we have to decide internally.
that you're deciding internally, and that's why. So I was a policeman before. In my police career, I've seen many things that aren't very nice. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I don't remember them all. The
Mm.
one I do remember, right, is a situation when my it was a church, and the victim of this thing was a guy who reminded me of my dad, right? And basically, this guy was a little bit simple, whatever, and he'd worked all his life, and then basically the people at the church had provided him some accommodation next door at a very high price. They were selling him clothes at a very high price, just ripping it off, and then they were making some inquiries um, about his pension, and
Wow.
and the workplace got in touch and said, why are these people asking about his pension, blah blah blah. And I was just, it just did not sit well with me that you'd get people in a church behaving like this. But that was my thing, you see. And
Mm.
that's the thing I that's the thing I didn't process very well.
Yeah.
You know, forget about all the other things I've seen. I've seen dead people, I've seen other things, and you know, I don't go into
Yeah.
that now, but you know, so so yeah, it's incredible that we don't know more about the internal, because
Yes.
the knowledge is there for us to have, but unfortunately it isn't shared in a way that we can have it.
Well, listen, I just want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing, because there, I think people just need to know this, man.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
simply put, I think people need to know about different options they have, because I think suffering is a part of life,
yes,
but there's level of suffering that people don't have to experience
yes,
with those options.
yes,
And being on that other side, man, is just beautiful. Like we've seen the sun just come down, and you can appreciate the sun. You can appreciate how it makes you feel warm.
yes,
It doesn't matter the temperature. If you're in a place of suffering, it doesn't matter how beautiful it is. You won't experience it.
yes,
So I just want to say thank you for your time. I think people will get a lot of value, as we love,
yes, yeah,
from this. Ian, it's always a pleasure to see you, my brother.
yeah.
And listen, man, I got some fresh kicks here from you, man. What?
There's just one point I want to make before we finish,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Just so everybody understands. It's your lack of knowledge that maintains your suffering.
Mm,
Your lack of knowledge. So if I say to you, if you are provided with the right knowledge, then you will suffer less,
wow.
right?
Knowledge.
So suffering is our captivity. You see what I'm saying? So maybe that's why we're not getting the knowledge.
Mm,
Suffering is our captivity. You
yes.
see? So when you learn this stuff, you'll learn more about how to actually get the best of yourself,
Yes.
how to be in love, the higher vibration, more consistently. You see?
Wow. From the
That's
knowledge.
so I didn't know that at the beginning, but the more I've come to learn, is I've come to understand why we don't know.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah, from my own viewpoints.
That's
I
why.
feel like Ian, give us one more to lead us off with. Give us one more gem. I feel like there's another gem you have to share, man.
Another, I would say, um, in your relationships, right? The thing that the problem is that you can have, now you understand how this delusion works. In a relationship, you can have two people in a delusion, right? Because remember, when you get in the emotion, your thinking is exaggerated, and the
Mm.
person you're thinking of is not the person you're with.
Whoa.
They're not the person. You
Yes.
think so badly of them in the moment.
Wow.
The person you're thinking of is not the person you're with. You
Have
see?
mercy.
So so when you realize that, then you can learn, how can I say, you can learn to see how you can create, create these images in your mind of the people you're with, not realizing that they have their own uncertainties and they're on their own growth path.
Yes.
That makes sense. And they'll say things sometimes that they don't mean, and this, that, the other. And then you take it to heart, move into your delusion, all of this sort of. So it's realizing it's not just about a bit of this or a bit of that. This thinking is everything we do.
Because
And
we're all in this together. We're
all in
all on
this
this
together.
journey
Yeah.
together, different paths, But I think a little bit of patience, a little bit of grace with one another, and we'll get to something beautiful, man. So listen, like I said, I'm always. I told Cerise I was looking forward to talking with you, man. You know, so we're in London. Thank you, Ian, again, man.
Yeah,
Blessings to you,
great
brother,
to meet you
man.
and meet everybody else.
Love, brother. Yes, sir.
Good to see you.
Likewise, man.